Welcome back to Up the Villa. It's predicted lineup time. Newcastle United v Aston Villa, joined again by Hannah and Justin. So we're going to go straight into it and we're going to predict the Villa lineup. So Justin on the preview said he reckons it's unchanged. So is it? Are we going to do something? Let's see what happens. But if you are new here, make sure you are subscribing. You can hit the like button. Let's try and get 500 likes on this one and comment your thoughts in the comment section. And then we'll have a look at where the threats from Newcastle will come as well then. So we won't go straight to Justin. We'll go to Hannah. And I guess the main question is, now we've got options of how we are playing in certain games. It could be a 5 or it could be a 4. Hannah, you can predict the back 4 and we'll see whether we all agree or disagree.
Okay. Well, you've dropped a little bit of a hint by saying back 4. So my only thing for this game is, now after Man City, I don't want to give any of those players grief because it was a brilliant performance. I don't think anyone was poor. But at the minute, I'm sorry to say it, Pau Torres is looking shaky when he's playing out from the back. We improved in the second half, but in general, Torres is looking a bit shaky on the ball and it's making me nervous. And I think, is this chance, does Mings come in? Also, you've got Isak, a big, tall target striker. Does Mings perhaps have a little bit more physicality to deal with that? I'm thinking, everyone can disagree or we can debate, I'm going to put Mings in the Konza Mings centre-back pairing.
Okay. Now, this would be very interesting because of what happened last year against Newcastle.
Yeah.
And I imagine Mings will be feeling very relieved and happy that he's back playing football at St James's Park because of his recovery and the journey that he went on and the amount of setbacks he had recovering from that injury. I think this will be a real big moment for Mings. So I think that sort of like from an emotional standpoint, I think will be really big. Just put your left back and right back in, and then we'll bring the main man unchanged in, and we'll see what he's got to say.
Unchanged FC. I've already rattled him with my
Yeah, you have. I can see him. He's sweating. He's thinking, what's going on?
For me, it's definitely sticking with Cash and Dean. I think
for God's sake,
at the moment. The thing is, I did toy with the idea of, do we play Pau and Mings and sort of have that back 5 with Cash more advanced? But for me, that disrupts how brilliant I thought our midfield was against City. And I want to keep, for the most part, the team the same. I just think the physicality.
Unchanged, you say, Hannah? Unchanged, you say? No, okay. Unchanged. No.
That's what I'm going to stick with Mings.
Okay. I kind of thought this is what might happen against Man City with a back 5, with Mings coming in for the physicality of Haaland.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like if he didn't do that for Haaland, then I don't think he'll do it for Newcastle. But Justin, where are you at with this?
Now, I know I said I dropped a spoiler on the last episode, but I think I've had a little bit of a think, and I think the way I've got to.
What are you changing?
No, I'm not changing. What I'm thinking is, I'm trying to think how Unai would think, and that's almost impossible.
Well, Justin, you might as well just ask me because I'm calling lineups like I'm in the backroom staff at the minute.
What I mean by that is look at Newcastle, and that's how he would look at this team selection. You know, he looks at it game by game, so he'll look at Newcastle and he'll look at their obvious threats, and he'll think, right, what player matches up best for how we want to attack this game. And I can't really disagree with Hannah's logic on the Mings thing, really, and I can't disagree with you. Your logic saying if he's not going to swap Mings in for the obvious, ultimate sort of big striker in Haaland, why would he do it for Isak? Only that the game has come fairly quickly after the last one. And I think Mings is due a run out again. That doesn't mean he should play because he's due to play, but I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, the only other thing
Mings
I'd add in is that I'd say in general, from like set pieces and stuff, I'd say Newcastle are also a slightly bigger team. You've got like the likes of Dan Burn and Fabian Schär that are just they're big. They've got quite a big squad. So is Mings a bit better at dealing that aerially and from set piece situations as well?
No, I agree, and I think what you would lose by losing Pau Torres is obviously on the ball. And Mings is now, he's decent on the ball, but he's not in Pau Torres' league, I think, on bringing the ball out. I don't think that's being disrespectful to Tyrone. But I think because we are playing now, and hopefully we'll retain the four midfielders with Tielemans playing in that 8-10 role, I think Kamara's decent on the ball. I think it sort of means you haven't got to go so ball playing at the back, and maybe you can go a little bit more defensively minded. So I think what I'm trying to say is Mings starts. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'm outnumbered then.
I'm happy with that.
Pau's on the bench then. Do we all agree double pivot /3 is going to be Kamara and Onana?
Yeah.
I think this is where my unchanged FC. I'll just shut up now because I just think I don't know how you can change the front six realistically.
Yeah.
Who are you going to make an argument for? Come on, Luke. Who are you going to make an argument for?
I'm not making an argument for no one. That's what I
don't.
want to see.
You agree? Yeah.
I would fully agree.
You look at the bench and there's nobody there that you'd look at and say, "Oh God, he's crying out to get." Like we were looking for Onana to come in and slip in against City. There's not that player that's currently not in the team that you want to see in the team. And I think that's the only way you can look at it, really. Is anybody really pushing? Watkins and Duran is the only question mark, but you look at a forward that's just scored 4 in 4 and, you can't leave him out, can you?
No.
Spoiler.
So, I mean, spoiler here then, we may as well go completely rogue and we may as well just absolutely put every player in that we imagine then. Do we all think that that's going to be the lineup then?
I think, like Justin said, I don't see how you can bench Duran.
No.
I think before we would kind of look at this and be like, it's not dropping someone, it's just, resting for another game. Yeah. But in this situation when Duran is, I think he would feel very hard done by not to start. And if Watkins has been nursing a little injury and he's just getting back into it, then it's more the reason that Emery's going to think we'll put some trust in John Duran. And I think we saw what Duran offers now more than he did when he first joined the club. He's got a bit better at his all-round game and his commitment to, not just being a goal scorer. I think he really works hard for the team. So I think it is very hard to drop him, but at the same time, he's such a different player to Watkins. So I think it would totally depend in the way that Emery has assessed this game. If he thinks it's going to be more of a slower build-up kind of game, then, you put Watkins in. But if we're going to be trying to get it up the pitch quick, fast to a hit target man like Duran, then that's what he'll go for. So, I mean, it's a cop-out to say I wouldn't be surprised by either, but I do think for now you have to sit with Duran.
I also think you got to look at the fixtures, and I know he says he doesn't look more than one game ahead, but I'm pretty sure he will. They'll have conversations, and based on the fact it is Newcastle we're playing straight after City, and it's a tough place to go away from home. I don't think you'd want to tinker with it too much because the players play so well. So you want a bit of momentum going into that Newcastle game. For example, if we were going away to Southampton on Boxing Day, I think you're changing 4 or 5 players to freshen it up. And now the fact we're playing Brighton 4 days after at home, there's your opportunity maybe to throw Ollie in. Maybe throw Matson in, maybe throw, 1 or 2 players that are, knocking the door a little bit to give those players that playing lots of games, like the likes of Luke and Dean, a little bit of a break because, we've got Leicester again on the Saturday after. So I think that Brighton game is probably the game you want to freshen it up a little bit.
Because you've also got Leon Bailey back as well. So he never came on
Yeah.
against City. You don't want to start him away at St James's Park.
No,
So
no.
again, you can possibly rotate a little bit
Good
against
opportunity
Brighton
to get him on though, isn't it?
bring
And give him
in.
15, 20.
Yeah. So the big area for me is this middle of the park area. And the power of Joe Linton is a massive, massive threat. Their midfield three works really well. What you generally find is that Tonali will sit a little bit deeper. Joe Linton will offer protection through here, and Gomes will be working around there. So it's got a little bit of a Juventus feel to that midfield three in the sense of it's a triangle. One sits, one goes over to this side, and then Gomes will play in and around that area as well. But I think by having Tielemans in what we saw against Man City, making up a three in there, but also sometimes, if needed, creating that box midfield, we're currently going to be outnumbering the Newcastle midfield three. Their formation is a 4-3-3, so their central areas are going to be occupied by three players. What you'll see is Murphy out on the right, Gordon out on the left, Isak through the middle. Hall is playing really well this season, can get forward, attacks well. Livramento can do the same. So obviously you've got overlaps. You've got both fullbacks wanting to get forward. But I think, we've got to be defensively sound. We've got to make sure that we're doubling up on both wingers because they can both cut inside. They can both invert. Gordon's got so much pace to exploit. So what we'll see is that what we saw against Manchester City was Cash needed that little bit more help from Kamara in the second half against Manchester City. So Grealish was having to go back a little bit. I mean, I know Grealish likes to pass it back anyway, but that's what he was doing. So Kamara's going to be important. Onana, physicality in there as well. And then just on transition, you're going to see players like Rodgers getting on the ball, etc. But I think how we played against Man City should be a little bit of a blueprint of what we can possibly do with that little bit of a 3/4 in that midfield area as well. And, I like Dan Burn. I think he's a player that gives everything, but, you can move him around a little bit, try and drag him out of position, etc. So, yeah, so I think that lineup's pretty good. That's where I see the threat for Newcastle coming from. Obviously, I may as well say it so it don't happen. Harvey Barnes, he always scores against Villa, so we've got to make sure that if he comes on and cuts inside, that we are blocking his shots. In particular, Hannah, I started to see a little partnership blossoming against Manchester City. It was a little bit of link up. It was a little bit of flair. There was a few little flicks in there from Rodgers and Duran. Did you spot this little partnership blossoming?
Yeah, I think they clearly have a good relationship that seems to be off field as well. They seem to get along quite well, and I think Watkins can drift a lot, can't he? Whether that's his own play style or that's how he's sort of been coached to play under Emery. But Watkins often does drift. He's trying to find space, but sometimes he comes out wide left, etc. I think sometimes that means that him and Rodgers are trying to occupy the same kind of area, whereas I think John Duran and him are always sort of like in parallel or playing off each other. So I think it works really well, and I think we saw it a lot against City. That the first goal came from obviously Rodgers did a great drive forward. I think the way that we have Rodgers in that position now, it was sort of what we used to have back in the day with Jacob Ramsey, someone that really can carry the ball and drive with it. And John Duran is the type of striker that's going to always be busting his gut to be at the end of that ball. And he's really good at sort of basically binning off the centre-back and beating them to the ball. So I think it is a nice partnership there, and they clearly get on off-field, which I think often is something that that helps with the chemistry. So we'll see if he does start. I think they could start building that momentum, and then it becomes even harder, doesn't it, to drop Duran.
I liked Rodgers' interview after the game, and they were like, "Did you think about taking it on?" And he was like, "Duran likes scoring goals," and it just made me laugh. But Duran's doing brilliant. I mean, you can see right here that Duran's last 4 games, 7, 7.2, 7.1, 7.3. But some of that sort of passed me by when I've seen him scoring these goals. He's on 7 goals so far this season, which is pretty high. I mean, what are we nearly halfway through the season-ish? He carries that on and maybe bags a couple more. He's not far off 20 there if he carries on. He's averaging a goal every 80 minutes in the Premier League, which is mental in itself. His conversion rate's getting higher and higher. It's at 24%. So, Justin, his finishing is very, very good. I mean, when he gets that opportunity now, I expect him to score every time he gets a chance. And I think he took that first one against Man City a bit too early. And he probably backs himself to score from that distance. He could have probably gone on a bit further. But, it's like we got a special player on our hands here at the minute. And he's just surpassing what I expected him to probably do this season. But not only that, it's his... I think Emery again did an interview, and he mentioned that there was a moment against Man City where he was defending our box, and last season he wasn't doing that. And this is what they've been trying to get him to do, and it shows that there's more to football. There's more to being a striker than just scoring goals, and you've got to do all of the other things as well. And I think his game is sort of getting a little bit more complete as well. So, I mean, we'll finish off on this then. So how impressed have you been with him this season?
He's a joy to watch, isn't he? He's so unpredictable as well. I mean, that chance he had in the first couple of minutes, I was sort of half expecting him to whip it over the top of the keeper, but he sort of went low and to his right, didn't he? To be fair, the keeper still had to make a decent save. And then he does things like, I think he did it just after, maybe halfway through the first half, when he takes that shot on early. He didn't quite catch it. And then, funnily enough, Rodgers lays it on a plate for him to score. And in the second half, the goal that was ruled out for offside, which he was offside, Rodgers running alongside him. There's never a chance he's squaring that to Rodgers, is there? So You can see he just wants to score goals, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a born finisher. There's players that are finishers, and there's players that are just, I don't know. Gary Lineker was a finisher. He's just in the right place at the right time, but he's got like just something. Got like the X factor about him, hasn't he? You never know what he's going to do, and we've seen some absolute brilliant finishes from him. And I think that makes him so difficult to mark because do you stand off him and let him run at you? No, because he'll have a shot from 35 yards out. Do you mark him tight? No, he's got the physical ability to hold you off. His all round game is improving all the time. He's the way he brings people into play is much better than it was. And this defensive side of the game, which does it really matter how much he's banging the goals in? No, but it's lovely to see that he's prepared to track back and do the not so nice part of the game, and help his teammates out, which I think was probably something that he lacked last season. Maybe one of the reasons that he maybe ruffled a few feathers, that he wasn't doing the other bits, he's just going for the glory all the time. So by adding all these different attributes now to his game, at 21 years of age, we could have an absolute monster on our hands in 18 months, 2 years' time. One of the best in the world, let alone in the Premier League. So keep his feet on the ground, keep doing what he's doing, stay humble, and the sky's the limit for the kid.
Yeah, up the Villa. Let's finish it there then. So that's the predicted lineup. Hopefully you've all enjoyed it. Up next, you have got our Christmas special, which is going to be out tomorrow. So stay tuned for that then. And then we'll be back for our content on Boxing Day straight at full time as well then. So cheers everyone for watching. Up the Villa.
Happy Christmas.